Shut up and sit down.
What you listening to, son?
I don't think you like it.
Did you find the files?
I don't even know what they look. What do they look like?
They're in the computer.
They're in the computer?
Must be an on button somewhere. Press the Apple thing.
The internet is not something that you just dump something on. It's not a big truck. It's a series of tubes.
That boy ain't right.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? You guys are suffering through another episode of the Dial Podcast. I'm your host, Matt LeGrand, and I'm here with a little gentleman named Mr. Evan Price. Evan Price, how are you?
Good. You took my intro. I was going to do the ladies and gentlemen of the interweb.
Were you?
Because you're the captain today, so you can't be doing that.
Yes, I am hosting, so all of you listeners have made a grave mistake tuning in. But I assume that if they're listening to this podcast, they might like to suffer a bit.
Yeah,
a little. It's a cycling podcast. And over there, across the table from me, Mr. Lance Hepler.
Hi, I'm Lance. I'm here for your listening pleasure.
Are you?
Yes.
Okay. In studio?
In studio, it's Lance Romance.
Oh,
studio.
Yeah. And to my right, Mr. Jake Von During.
Hello, kids. How are you?
Jake finally gets his own intro.
I know.
Yes.
He gets to do his own intro.
Yes.
It's just like the quarterback is playing tight end today, and he has no idea what to do with his hands.
Yes.
I'm the water boy, baby.
All right. So things are awkward because I am hosting. And we'll try to do things slightly differently. You know, I'll try to push the pace a little bit on the podcast, keep things moving. With that being said, I want to jump right into...
Dump?
Oh my God.
Don't dump, please.
Oh, the ship is already sinking. It's going down. Captain Matt, what do we got?
Let's start with Backpedal. And I want to start with Jake. And the reason is, you might have some good news.
I do have a little bit of news that is good.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Oh,
It's very good stuff.
Yeah, well, just real quick, it was kind of a busy week. I'm just getting back into work mode and been flying through that and the trainer and all that other stuff. And the physical therapist who's sitting across the table from me told me that if I wanted to, I could try and ride a bicycle outside.
Not on the trainer.
And I was helping Lance earlier this week with some stuff, and he's like, "Hey, it's nice. Let's go for a ride." He basically like twisted my bad arm even and said, "Let's go for a ride."
And I forced his hand a little bit.
And I thought about it for a second. I looked outside. I'm like, this time of year, it's not too often that we get a bright, sunny day.
It was dry and it was sunny.
It was nice. And he told me, we're going to go for a ride. I'm like, all right, let's do it. And I'm not kidding you. It was like within like 5 or 10 minutes, I get a text from Matt. You riding today? Because I think it was like kind of in jest. He was just kind of having fun a little bit.
No. I thought like, okay, I have this feeling that this is the week, and it was like Thursday. The weather was nice, and I don't know. I just sent a text just hoping that the answer might be yes.
Yeah, and I did text him back and said, can you be ready in 10 minutes? Because that's our running thing. It's like, hey, riding in 10 minutes, you want to come? And it's always yes. Yep. And it's almost always the answer. So Matt says, yeah, I'm in. And I sent another text out to another one of our teammates, Sean. And, lo and behold, he's like, yeah. So we put together a nice little ride group and we went out and rode our bicycles.
It was
for
like
about
the
40
boys
minutes.
are back in town playing in the
Yeah,
background the whole time.
It's exactly how it was.
Kept it simple, flat, and smooth, and just tested it out. And my shoulder felt about the way that I thought it would, but it was a little bit worse. I mean, it could have been a little bit worse, but it felt all right. And we went out and rode bikes, and it was glorious.
Yeah.
It was. It definitely was.
Yeah, it was just a nice day. It was just so nice to be outside and not on a trainer, and to ride bikes after 6 months is just fantastic. So that was fun. And then fast forward to Saturday, we had our ugly Christmas sweater ride for our little fundraising thing that we're putting together to buy bikes for kids this Christmas. And my God, we had so many people show up for that. And
How many ended up showing up?
When we were at our critical mass, there was 53 people. If
53 people.
And that was not a good weather day. It was cold.
It was cold.
It was chilly. I mean, but it was relatively dry. We got a little spritzing like right when we first started, but for the rest of the day, it was pretty nice.
That was a big group on the road.
Yeah,
it felt like
it was awesome.
It felt like we were taking over the city.
It did. And Matt and I were thinking the exact same thing. I think he voiced it before I did, but people are like, honking their horns and yelling and stuff.
Yeah.
And like usually it's like,
They're
F you,
cursing at you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you stupid cyclist. But it was cheering us on. It's
We
like
got
those
nice waves. Yeah.
They were happy honks. We got some happy honks, and that made my day.
It was a bit confusing. Like,
Yeah.
are they angry at us?
So you need to be either a group of about 100 riders or a group of one rider to not get like 5 riders too many. 100 kind of cool.
You know, I believe that was the first time that all 4 of us have ridden outside together.
That's true.
Isn't
I
it?
think so.
I think
so.
Where all 4 of us were on a ride together.
We should have recorded it
We
and
should have
broadcast
should
it.
have recorded something.
But
We'll have a lot of those coming up.
Yeah.
that was just like the best day. I mean, I haven't had a day that made me that happy in quite some time. So thank you guys for coming out, and thank you to everybody who came out and made kind donations to our little cause. We are up to, gosh, I think we're at like $6,500 that we've raised for buying bikes, and we're going to be putting this order in probably about 10 days from now. And that gives us a little bit more time to raise some more money so we can buy more bikes and helmets for these kids. I'm pretty sure that if all goes as well, we should goes as planned. We should be able to buy about 25 bikes and helmets. And these won't be your little rinky-dink bikes that you can pick up at a box store. These are some solid quality bikes that these kids can have for years to come. So,
how's the giveaway process going to go?
So I'm working with the Salvation Army.
Okay.
Is the one that's kind of helping us with the kids, because they basically service a lot of these kids. The kids will come to them sometimes first thing in the morning before they go to school. They'll come to them afterwards, and a lot of times they're feeding not only these kids but the actual parents too, because they're having a hard time putting food on the table. So they're identifying the kids, and they're giving me all of the the age and how big their head is for their helmet, how tall they are, so we can get the appropriate size bike, and like some ideal, like just getting some color suggestions from them. And then once we have that data, we will place the order. The bikes are going to come in. We've got an army of people who have volunteered to come build those bikes. And then we're setting up a date to go over there pretty darn close to Christmas, and we're going to basically hand everything over to the kids, and we're going to do a little in-service on making sure that they know how to ride the bike safely, how the bike works, make sure that the helmet fits them correctly, and just let them kind of get acclimated to their bike and just have a really fun process doing that. So.
Now, I know you're not really into self-promotion, but I bet we could get the news there too when we deliver those bikes. That's a possibility.
You know what?
That would be cool.
I'm not into promoting myself, but I would love to see that for just the community as a whole.
Yeah.
To see like what bicycles could do for a kid.
Yeah.
And that's going to be good for the cycling community to show that we're putting our best foot forward to take care of these kids and to promote the sport that we love.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind showing up with a camera,
Absolutely.
between the two of us, taking
Yeah,
some photos
absolutely.
That'd be
or
great.
some videos and things like that, and then we could blend in some, because we have a lot of photos and videos from the actual bike ride also, so you could kind of at least tell the whole story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, that was about the wrap of my week, man. I've got a smile. I've had a smile on my face for a couple of days. I had to get back on Zwift yesterday. I was like, grumble. But I can't go out and do it too often. I've got to be real picky and choosy. If I'm going to continue to be able to go outside, it's got to be dry, and it needs to be, safe routes, and I can't be doing a lot of stuff that's going to jeopardize my shoulder. But to know that I have the capacity to go out and do that, my God, you have no idea how good that feels. It's awesome.
I think not just you with a big smile on your face. I think everybody else, and probably a lot of
You
people
could
that
not have
listen to
taken a
this.
smile off Jake's face that day.
Oh,
that was the biggest smile I've seen Jake have in 6 months.
I was looking
That
at
was-
Lance. I was looking at Lance, and he was just gleeful.
Yeah.
I was. It's true.
It was just like
It's funny too.
Yeah.
And I've got so many great friends, and I love our team and our community. I've gotten so many like texts and emails and Facebook messages like, "Hey, it was so awesome to see you. Hey, can we go riding next Tuesday, or can we ride next weekend?" I've got all these ride invites. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
I know.
But we will get back out.
I posted a picture, and I was like, I don't know if I was allowed to do that.
We're all
I don't
good.
know.
We're all good.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Okay. Next in line, Mr. Lance Hepler, we're just going to continue around the table. Backpedal for us.
First things first,
Yes.
I come bearing gifts.
Oh, no.
What?
I'm scared.
Handmade chocolates. Homemade chocolates
my
by the
gosh.
Heplers.
Oh my goodness.
Dude, Oh my
It's
gosh.
hard to get
It
on
I
this
says-
remember you
list.
talking about
Okay,
these.
hold
Yeah.
on. The sticker, the custom sticker says from Lance Romance.
See, okay, my
Happy
wife
holidays.
did that. I didn't even realize she put that on there. I didn't
It's
even look
so
at
good.
it.
That is
I'll tell you what,
awesome.
the handwriting on that is
know.
pretty impressive.
That would
yeah.
be Brandy.
Oh, look at that.
Brandy, these things are awesome looking.
And the little tag on there is
Yeah.
a little bike wheel. Do you see that?
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
that's too cool.
Look at the attention to detail.
I don't even want to eat these. I feel like I'm just going to have to keep this thing and like.
So you guys can try those later, unless
you.
you want to chew on Mike, and then Jake
Yep.
Yeah.
might take a swing.
Podcast might go silent for a
Yeah.
moment there while I turn off the microphones.
So yeah, a long family tradition, and I'm glad I got to share it with you guys. So
Thanks,
we'll
man.
bring you a little
Did everything go off without a hitch there? It was.
I don't know.
I remember you saying you're not allowed in the kitchen during that process.
I wasn't there.
I was
You're
out
on the
biking.
quality control team, though, aren't you?
I just helped kind of box them up a little bit. Is all. So yeah, I let them, the real artists, do all that stuff. But honestly, the highlight of my week this week was the fact that I got to ride outside twice with Jake. So
that was pretty cool.
it was pretty cool that we got to do that. And you know, with this big group of 50, there was a section where we kind of ramped it up.
I knew you were going to talk about this. Yeah.
And Jake and I and John Hatfield and Nate Scott, we kind of pulled off the front, and most of the reason we pulled off the front was because there was a slew of flat tires.
me and Kim conveniently flatted at the same exact time.
But yeah, it was fun to kind of put some efforts down and try to chase Jake once again. So that was pretty cool to see, and that was fun to do. So
And
it was
that, I mean,
fun.
those guys are like you guys are fit right now. So Jake, if you're in that mix,
Well, guess
or
who was
ahead of that
pulling
mix.
off the front
I know,
there too.
right?
Well, Jake was not just in the mix.
I know who's
He was-
guilty here.
He was dropping people there.
there were four of us working together. We pulled a minute in front of everybody else.
Yep.
We kind of backed off a little bit. Jake attacked, and me and John were seriously working together to pull Jake back in, and couldn't do it.
Oh, please.
No, we couldn't. We were not like
This
loafing.
was your only chance to do that.
Yes.
It's his second ride back. This is the only chance you have.
Me and John were rotating, trying to catch Jake, and we couldn't catch him.
And this is on flats. So
It
I
was
mean,
on
like
flat.
this is ridiculous. It's
Mm-hmm.
really unfair to those of us who bike.
That motor I installed there is working awesome.
So that was good. So that was very motivating. I wrote a whole bunch for the rest of the week. I put in like 16 hours last week.
Oh, God dang it. I was hoping that you would like slack off this week or something.
It was like super motivating. Like, oh, Jake's for real. All right.
Uh-huh.
All right. I need to put more hours in again. So yeah, I had a good week on the bike. So it was fun. I even, yeah, that's the other thing. I finally got my gravel bike sorted out. So I've been having this is probably a good thing for people. I've had a creak in my bottom bracket area on my gravel bike that I could not figure out. Me and Jake have worked on it.
We threw the kitchen sink at that
Yes.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was just a creak that just would not go away. I replaced the bearings. We took apart the whole bottom bracket. We put it all back together. We greased everything, and the creak would always come back. Well, we finally found what the problem was. And what the issue was on the crank arm, where the two front chain rings bolt to the crank arm. There's a piece called the spider that is welded most of the time to the crank arm. That weld had broke.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Wow.
So
So you just need a new crank arm then?
yes, I needed
Okay.
a whole new crank arm. Yeah, and the weld had broke.
That's
almost,
better than a frame issue, though,
Yeah.
at least. Yeah.
It was almost imperceptible. You couldn't tell when it was on the bike that it was moving just a little bit. So we had to take it all apart, and one mechanic just noticed, hey, this is moving more than it should be. And we, it was all under warranty. We ordered a new one,
nice.
and boom, yeah, problem solved.
That's fun. That's fun to find a problem like that, though.
Oh,
Too much horsepower from Mr.
I know.
Lance.
That's what I was thinking too.
How do you
Who else
break
has
a weld?
Yeah, I can promise you I don't have that problem. I don't even
One
need
of
to
those-
check that. If
I think you have to put down over 2,000 watts
Gotta
to
be.
break
for that
it.
to even be an issue.
So,
That's to be
so
an
Evan,
issue.
we're safe.
Yeah, I'm fine.
So other than that, I Zwifted way more than I wanted to.
Which was
Tis
once.
the season.
No, it was like 4 times.
Nice.
I even Zwifted this morning before I came here.
Good for you.
So, and it was kind of crazy. I did this keep it simple aerobic threshold ride, and it was like 160 people, and literally it averaged 28 miles an hour.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But in a
Flats,
huge
yeah.
group like that in the flats,
Yeah.
yeah, it was all moving pretty fast. But yeah, so,
Sounds like a PIR ride.
yeah, exactly.
Mr. Evan Price, backpedal for us.
All right. Well, there's one thing I wanted to bring. It's funny that you bring up sprinting there, Matt. So there's one thing I want to bring up here because this is never going to happen again for me, like ever. This will never happen again. I'm saying right now. On that ugly sweater ride, there was a moment where Lance on his old titanium 2002 Lightspeed, correct? Lightspeed?
Correct.
That's a nice bike.
Titanium light speed,
With
just
fenders that were definitely rubbing on his tire,
Yes.
goes to sprint away from the group up an overpass. So we'll pretend like it's a climb. We'll pretend like this is a finishing climb here. I'm barely boxed in here, but I think if I'm ever going to beat Lance in a sprint, it's when he has a fender rubbing on his back tire. So I squeeze my way out and attempt to actually sprint. You know, like Matt, like when you're actually out of the saddle and like in the drops and trying to like go side to side.
Sprint?
Yeah.
No,
It's
I
like
have no idea what
it's like barely above zone 4, I think.
Oh,
yeah.
you gotta put in
Yeah.
zones for me.
So I actually passed Lance on this, and nobody else passed me. So I think I technically won a sprint that nobody cared about. But for the record, I think that's technically lancing Lance.
I think
barely.
I did get
I think it was
lanced.
bare. I mean, it wasn't like I blew 20 seconds into you, but I put about 10 yards into the finish into you.
Did you post the ride to Strava?
No, I did not.
It doesn't count.
So it didn't happen.
Doesn't count.
Because I did that segment by far the fastest of anybody that day. So you need to post it to Strava. You probably didn't even record it.
No, I didn't record
No.
it. I forgot. Which we'll get on me later about. But yeah, that ride was an absolute blast.
It was
Outside of, I had 2 flats, but rear and then front.
The roads,
It wasn't even the same. It was the rear and then the front later. Right?
Vancouver
Yeah.
Lake is terrible for
I know.
that. They're
Yeah.
renowned for the flats. And we were even joking. I don't know if you were standing right there riding with us when we were just getting into that area. Lance might have been there, but I
Yeah,
think
it
it was
was
Nate
me.
Scott or who was it?
It was you, me,
Mark
and
Reynolds,
Nate,
and
yeah.
there's. I basically said, "What's the over under going to be on flats for this big group that we
Yeah.
have
Oh my
today?"
gosh,
so.
yeah.
And the bummer for me was I was excited to see Jake up there pulling as soon as we got to the lake.
Yeah.
So I bridged the gap up, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. And then immediately flat as soon as Jake gets
Well,
to
there
the
was.
front.
Remember, right before you bridged up there was someone else that got a flat, and we were like, okay, it was just right at the start of the
Yeah.
point where we might pick up the pace. Like, are we going to regroup or whatever? So you and I were like, hey, there's a
Oh,
flat.
it was
there's
a karma
flat.
thing for us, wasn't it?
I know. And then you kind of bridged up, and I think you were going to go tell them like, hey, there's a flat, but they were like, no, we're going.
Yeah.
It was-
And then I
it
was like, all right,
it
I'll
was
stay
fun.
with him. And then I flatted.
Which
so.
was fine because there was like a bazillion other flats. And
Oh, yeah.
it was
Everybody
nice
was
that you guys
flat.
had a chance to.
Still so much fun, though.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, we told everybody before the ride that was going to be the section,
Yep.
the only section that would be spirited, and that we would regroup out for the group photo. But
And yeah, I mean it's right. I mean, there's a flat section, and then it's right there for regrouping. And we actually
Yep.
took our time for the photo op,
Yep.
things like that, right by the river,
Yeah.
which is absolutely beautiful. We'll post a picture to the Facebook group for the podcast
Sure,
of this ugly sweater picture we got, which is probably.
I was also wearing like an ugly T-shirt for the. It looked like a sweater, but it's actually a T-shirt.
Yeah.
I need to find like a good solid like cycling sweater for next year.
I don't know. That might hold you back, and
That's true.
Lance could have taken
it's not
you on that.
aerodynamic. Yeah.
I was in a big floppy sweater that was hanging down below my butt.
It's the only reason. It's the only reason Evan was able to get away from
That's
you.
why
was.
Evan got me on the overpass.
It was. It was. Well, I definitely think that fender played a part, but
I had so many layers on that day. I
know.
hadn't ridden outside in so long,
Yeah.
and then it's like cold, and I'm like,
it was. I
I don't want to be
day.
cold.
Yeah, it was definitely a cold.
I
day.
had, including the sweater, I think it was like, we'll call it 4.5 layers on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will keep my back pedal pretty quick. I had a very nice week. Also did the ugly sweater ride. Hit Zwift a lot. Just a whole bunch of ezy rides. Just kind of keeping pace, and a lot of swimming. I think
6 times this
week.
week?
I think I swam 6 times this
You
week.
outswam me this week. Nice.
I ran 2 miles. Yeah, not a lot of running, but there's
That'll come.
something.
That'll come.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely highlight was being able to bike with Mr. Jake Von During, for sure. Definitely highlight of the week.
I'm glad that I could oblige.
Yep. Okay, so let's do. You know what? Before we start to get into topics, I think what we want to do is just roll through any regroups. If anyone has any sort of errors and omissions or regroups, now is the time.
I do have
Mr.
one.
Lance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do share.
Again, so last week we shared a top 10 list. What was it about? Top 10 reasons to help you winter training or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we also had a previous list talking about why golfers aren't as cool as cyclists.
Yes,
but yeah.
that's also correct. So, of course, my friend Ryan texts me his top 10 ways to train through the winter in Vegas, because Ryan lives in Las Vegas. So he shared this top 10.
Does it snow in Vegas? Dumb question.
Yeah,
I don't
Very
know.
rarely.
Very rarely.
Okay.
Yeah. Number 1, schedule a training camp in preparation for your official training camp. Which we didn't talk about.
Oh my God.
We're all training for the training camp. Number 2, these are the top 10 ways to train through the winter in Vegas. Lots and lots of sunscreen. Bastard.
Yeah.
Number 3, sunglasses to protect your eyes from the UV rays.
Oh my gosh.
4, when you meet another writer and want to talk about the weather and find yourself confused, just say, "What a lovely spring we're having this winter." Number 5, Vegas is a desert valley, and when you go to the valley, you must hydrate. Number 6, Vegas is a desert. You also must moisturize. Number 7,
Like your skin? Like
when it rains during the winter, you take the day off because school is going to be canceled so the kids can play in it. And you would want to be there for that. Number 8, when riding, you should watch for ice. Stopping in a convenience store to add ice to your water bottle.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
a totally good mistake.
That's a good one.
Number 9, for Lance. We know it's warm. We know it's Vegas, but pants are still required. And number 10, whenever it hits the 60s, you should really put on a jacket and leg warmers.
Oh man,
That's
is
true.
Fantastic.
I mean, people who like stay in the like my buddy lived out in Arizona for a while. Like when he rides out in 45-degree weather now, he's got you would think it's snowing out the way
right.
he's dressed. It's unbelievable.
That is just a reminder, folks, that if you do respond to us, we're probably going to share it on the podcast. So please leave your comments and warnings and
I talked to a couple of
call-outs.
listeners. Yeah, last night there was like a dialed cycling or dialed triathlon group kind of get together. And I talked to a couple people that listen to the podcast. Just amazing. It was super cool to chat with them. They were talking about the podcast a little bit. They all know us super well. It's just awesome talking to folks. And I was like, you have to send an email in because like we'll read it. Like we love having feedback. Any sort of feedback is definitely welcome. Yeah. In fact, if you guys are listening now, go ahead and just pause us. Go ahead and if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Hop over to iTunes, rate our podcast, between 5 stars and 5 stars.
Yes,
Yeah.
Somewhere in between there.
I think those are the only two options. But
and then come back and resume the podcast. We will wait for you.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then think of something we've done wrong and comment on there.
Send us an email about that. We'll definitely we'll have more content for our errors and omissions or our regroups.
it will all be Evan related, though.
Yes.
Evan.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, do
Anything
troll Evan.
Anything numbers based, please tell me I'm wrong.
All right, so for our first topic, what I actually thought we might want to do is roll through and just talk about what data fields we have on our bike computers. So I asked folks to bring their bike computers to the podcast, and you guys can actually, if you want to, you don't have to go through every screen, but just if there's something interesting or if there's, a particular screen that you use a lot, go ahead and let us know what it might be.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, start your garments.
Start your garments.
Oh,
Jake?
I'll go first actually because mine's
wait.
already been on.
Evan,
Yeah.
where's your garment?
Wait. First of all, Evan doesn't believe in computers.
Right.
They are the work of the devil,
Yeah.
and it's a fad that's going to pass.
Does anybody here's something for
Digital.
errors no missions in the future?
Okay.
What was the group of people that during the Industrial Revolution used to just destroy machines because they hated technology? This is more for the
This is
listeners.
killing me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll think of it at some point. But I use a sundial on my computer. Yeah, it's nice. It gives me roughly the time of day that I'm at, and I can basically guess intervals in 15-minute increments.
Yeah.
So this is why I can't sprint, is because I don't know if I've been sprinting for a minute or so.
Based on the sun, I think
Yeah.
I'm going about 27 miles an
about
hour.
30 seconds. But in all seriousness, I actually do have a bike computer that I use on the trainer. Mostly I just look at watts. I don't use heart rate as much anymore, but my screen does have heart rate percentage. I go watts, FTP percentage, lap time, total time. Those are the only 4 screens that matter on there.
That's it.
Yep, that's it. I don't look at cadence.
And that's only on the trainer.
That's only on the trainer.
And what do you do when you're outside?
Distance, time, speed.
Okay.
Yeah, those three.
Distance, time, and speed, huh?
Lance, what do you got?
The screen I look at all the time has 7 things up on it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So the main one is speed for me. And then I also have average speed because I'm always competing against myself. So go figure. And then distance. And then the 2 things I'm looking at all the time are power and heart rate. So I have those 2 things on there. I also have elapsed time, and I also have time of day. I keep that on my front screen too because
You got to know when you got to get back to work.
yes, I need to know when to get back to work, or if I know what time the race is supposed to start. I'm warming up, and I'm always looking at that, and so I'm not having to look at something else. Or if you know when sunset is going to be, I'm racing sunset.
You're racing the sun.
Yeah.
You're
So,
always racing.
Race in the sun. Do you have a certain mile per hour that you need to hit on each ride, or you're going to be mad at yourself?
No.
Okay, good. I'm just making sure.
No. But, I'm in a group. I'd like to be over 20, you know. But
Yeah.
if I'm by myself, and if I'm climbing, I want it to be over
18.
18. And
Yeah.
if it's flat, I'd like it to be close to 20 as well. But sometimes I'm sightseeing and it's 15, So it's all good.
How about you, Matt? What's on yours?
Yeah. Okay. So this whole topic was a total attempt to get a lot of information from you guys because I am going to make a video over how to change your screens and exactly what screens I have. And then the other part of it was that I had recently reset my Garmin, so all my screens were completely shot. Compared to where I had
that
them
happens
before.
when you reset it?
Yeah, well,
that's not
if
good.
you restore to factory, then yeah, which is what I did for this one. I have the Garmin 820, which we've definitely talked about. I made a separate video of this about why I dislike this computer, and I think all of us kind of have had this one and didn't love it, or some of us at
I
least.
have it now. It's
you do?
fine, but
Okay.
I'm also not the person to probably be asking.
It's the touch screen.
I had
It's
it.
not
and
terrible, but it's a stinker when you compare it to the other ones.
Yep.
When
Yeah.
your hand gets sweaty, it is impossible to swipe the screen.
Yeah.
You're done.
And if you compare that to the one that Lance has in his hand, he has the 1030. The touch screen is infinitely better on the 1030, in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. My problem is I shouldn't say this, but I sweat on it and it changes the screen or
Yeah.
it'll switch over to some screen or it'll start changing data fields. It'll start to,
That was the problem that I had with it, and
I can't stand
yeah.
that. Yeah.
And then to add insult to injury, when you're riding here in the Pacific Northwest and you've got a crappy weather during the wintertime, you've got thick gloves on, you can never scroll between the pages. The touch screen just didn't work well enough when you had a glove on, so it was just a super pain in the butt.
So what I did was I actually went through here, and I'll talk about my screen. I have different activity profiles that I'm going to try. I'm going to see if this is better. I think the way most people use this is you might have a racing profile, or you might have a training profile. And what I'm going to try and do is have basically a no power profile, race profile, workout profile, and traveling profile. So 5 different profiles based on kind of more stuff that I want, and then really simplify the screens or use less screens, because I think if I'm sweating on stuff and it's changing screens, I think that might be the most annoying thing that I might be able to avoid by just you basically using 1 or 2 screens. So 2 screens, one with the kind of information that I want to look at currently, and then at the end of ride, the second screen would just be summary stuff. So Lance, kind of like you, on my summary screen, I have something I don't know, 8 different options.
Yeah.
So that would be at the end of the ride, I might want to see average cadence, distance, average heart rate, total ascent, average power, normalized power, time, total time, average speed, TSS, which I don't know if any of you guys care about that, but
Sure.
and then kilojoules, just for kicks.
Yeah.
So
What's TSS for people who don't know?
So TSS is your training stress score. And a quick kind of easy way to think about it is if you were to ride, for 1 hour at your FTP, which would be extremely hard for all of us, you would score 100 TSS points. However, if you were to ride, at half your FTP for an hour, that'd be 50 points, but you could go 2 hours at half your FTP, and that would again be 100 TSS points. So it's a way to figure out how much stress you did in a particular ride, but then you can also use that number to actually calculate your training stress for an entire week, or your accumulated fatigue, or all these different things that you can use that metric to kind of see how your training's going, how much training volume you're actually doing. Because, you know, for me right now, I'm doing a ton of easy stuff, right? Where it's like, I'll go ride an hour a day and it's all easy. It's not a lot of TSS points there. And it's a better metric than, you know, just looking at like the hours that I'm doing. Because for Lance, if he were to do 10 hours, they would be all hard, and his, you know, his training stress would be higher than my easy 7 hours.
I think some people
even know that was
look
on
at TSS a little bit too seriously. I think they
Yes.
take it as an actual.
An actual metric.
There's no good longitudinal study that they base TSS off of.
Well, and that
It's kind of a guesstimated idea.
yeah, absolutely
Is what
'Cause-
they're looking at.
because your FTP is always going to be changing.
Yeah.
and if you're not constantly updating that, then your TSS points are going to be off. It's a good.
There's like entirely too many factors. Like here's my thing that I think the problem is that some people are using it as, oh, my TSS has hit this certain threshold.
Right.
I need off days now, or I need recovery days.
Right.
I'd much rather, if I'm coaching somebody, them taking morning resting heart rate and how do you feel?
Yeah.
I know it sounds easy, but how do you feel? If
Yeah.
you feel super fatigued today, but your TSS says you're still below that threshold for the week, I'd rather you just take the rest day. Then.
Take that even a step further. It's like, actually, yeah, go do your workout. And if you fail, or if you feel like
Exactly.
your legs are like lead,
Then we take the day. Yeah.
then you take the day.
Exactly.
Because sometimes like you're not going to feel it, and then you get on the bike, and all of a
And you
sudden
do feel good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything kind of comes around for you. Like, all right, I'm glad I did that.
I usually tell my runners, like, go run 2 miles, and after 2 miles, like, assess how you're feeling. Like, don't assess it right now or whatever it
Yeah.
is. Like, you may feel great after 2 miles, and you may want to go get your long run in or whatever it is. But if you feel horrible, turn around, call it good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing
Where-
with biking, right?
Yeah,
Like you can
that's
easily,
where a power meter comes in beautifully, because that will tell you a lot of stuff. When you go into a ride, you got to give it at least 20 or 30 minutes to get your body warmed up. And then after that time, if you're still not producing the watts, listen to your body. If something's up, you might need some rest. You might be getting sick. You could be dehydrated. It could be a myriad of things.
Yeah.
Listen to your body and watch that number and pay attention to it.
I still think TSS is a good metric, and it's
Yeah.
something I want to use more in the future.
Yeah.
Just because I think, you know, there's real nice. It's just it's another tool for sure.
Yeah.
And I get that it's completely a made up metric.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's a
Because-
tough thing in triathlon to use too.
Okay, so
That's the problem.
for there are little, you know, again, just like any of this stuff, like you're kind of making up numbers to add in, and right. So it's like for swimming, you know, you can kind of like come up with some numbers that are
Yeah.
TSS related.
Yeah.
You know, and same thing with running. I don't know. I agree. I mostly use it for cycling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jake, what do you got on your bike computer?
I am going to win the competition of most things on my primary screen here.
I think I remember us
I've
addressing
got,
this before.
Yeah,
There's a
I've
lot.
got 10 things on there, and people will look at my stuff and like, why in the world do you have all that on there? Well, I like data. I like that stuff because it tells me a lot. It tells me what's going on.
I can't see that small.
Yeah. That's why
I can't process that many things at once.
I keep one screen super simple, and then I have that summary screen.
So I do have a super simple thing for when I'm doing like a workout, or if I'm in a race, I will have the more simplified screens, and I can toggle between those. But you know, the basic stuff like time of day, that's obvious. I got a lot of things going on in life, got kids and family and friends and all that other stuff, and I've got, you know, my schedule I've got to mind, and then I've got time for the elapsed time of the ride, so I can figure out how long I'm going for. I like to look at things like total ascent, and I like to look at distance, and I like to look at average speed and heart rate. But the most important things on there for me are the power related numbers. 3-second power is really important because you get a nice smooth power number, so you know what kind of work you're putting in.
Do you guys all use 3-second average?
I use 10.
You use 10? Okay.
I actually don't know why I used 10. I think it was just the first option that came up for me. But yeah, I use 10.
If you're using like power just as it is, I think all of us would probably recommend that you use something slightly different than that, just because that number jumps so much.
It's smooth.
It does.
Yeah.
3-second average is
I have
nice.
one screen that has
actual
power, and then another screen that has 3-second power.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I like to look at, can I hit
Right,
1,500
max.
watts for a second in this one?
Maybe this is why my sprints are terrible. Is because I'm always looking at that 10-second number.
You'll never see 1,500 ever for 10 seconds.
Well, you
in my
can
life
put
if
a
I could
data
see that.
point on there, like the maximum watts put out for that
Yes.
particular ride. So
Yeah.
that's probably not a bad idea for you to put on there, as opposed to trying to stare at your screen to put down 1,500 watts, and all of a sudden you're running into the side of a a car or something
Just
like that.
staring at the actual power.
You go put your effort down and then go back and look and see, all right, what did I hit?
They had that. They also have that max power number that you should just throw on
Yeah.
your summary screen and save your.
Yeah, it's on a separate screen where I have a few other things
Oh,
like
yeah.
cadence and temperature and stuff
So
like that.
the 3-second power to keep things nice and smooth. I've got normalized power, which is really important for us to know what's going on with our power for that particular ride. And then I have kilojoules. I'd like to have kilojoules on there for a couple different reasons, because if you're not properly fueling yourself, and kilojoules will almost directly correlate to the number of calories that you've burned. That's just another way for me to make sure that I'm keeping myself in balance with the food intake. So, but yeah.
What does kilojoules tell you? Because I've always just completely ignored that. I don't
Total
even know.
workload. I mean, that's the number of that's the amount of work that you've put into that workout. Like how many kilojoules you burn.
Joules is literally a measurement of work.
Of work and power.
Okay.
So, like if you went out and did a ride, say 30 miles, and you came back and you said that your total kilojoules was like 900, and I went out and did the same ride, and I went at it really hard, I can put out 1,300 kilojoules, and I put in more work than you did. And it also tells me, because if you do the math and you look at the number of calories that you burn, it will just kind of tell you how many calories you burned as well. So it kind of gives you like a dual purpose there in terms of what you did.
Okay.
So, and then I've got other screens too for like when I'm in race situations, it's pretty much looking at power. I like to look at normalized power as well, because I can tell, and I like to look at the kilojoules. And then
Do you have your cadence on that screen?
I do not.
You don't?
No, I've got it. I'm pretty keen on that.
Here's
I probably should though, to be honest.
Should
with
you though? I mean, like, I don't know. It's for me, at least from the time trialing world, I've seen so many different variations in training of really successful time trialists at low cadence and high cadence. That, I mean, isn't just the watts of your perceived exertion and your heart rate the more important like things to be looking at?
They
there?
are, but I think that you want to have a nice balance of everything, because I don't want to be mashing. I don't want to have my cadence be too low and I'm working more difficultly than I should be, because I'm going to burn myself out. I'm going to fatigue a muscle group. So I want to keep that cadence up just a touch.
And
do you guys do workouts based on cadence?
I do every once in a while, but I don't look at the cadence. I just go like, we're going
30
high cadence right
high
now,
cadence,
and then we're going low cadence.
Yeah.
And I don't really care like what.
think-
It's 100 to maybe 60 would be the drop between the two.
Cadence is a really big deal to triathletes and time trialists, but for cyclist, not quite so much. I mean,
It's changing so much throughout the ride to you.
right. I mean, because if I'm a triathlete and I'm pushing it 60 RPM, I'm going to be burning my quads, and I'm not going to run well. So you want to be going at 85 or 90 RPM the whole way. So that's why I think cadence is more important to triathletes, but for cyclists, for me, not so much.
Right.
I like to go back and look at the cadence numbers afterwards, especially when you're comparing it to a race or a race to like just a standard ride. My cadence in a race is always higher, at least like 8 or 10 RPMs.
Even for me in a time trial, it's a lot higher than training. Yeah.
So that's just kind of a nice little thing to go back and look. And that's the beautiful part about a bike with a power meter that has the cadence sensor built into it, using a computer. You can go back and break down so much of it, and it will tell a story, and you can look at how you did, and you'll know that if you left stuff out there on the course that you need to clean up, you can go back and look at the numbers, and you can basically say, all right, I know that that's what I did wrong. I can change that in my workouts, and once I get out to start racing again, I can make those changes and hopefully have a better outcome. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of data, and it's nice that these computers are recording everything, and then you can kind of dive into different parts of it.
Yeah.
So, all right.
The other thing that the other screen that I always toggle to is the Garmin 1030 has a great map on it, and when I'm in new places, actually even when I'm not in new places, I'm always toggling over to the map screen to see, do I want to turn here, or do I want to turn at the next one, and because this has navigation on it that works really well, so I'm looking at the map screen a lot.
Yeah, and I don't travel anywhere close to as much as Lance Romance. I mean, in Miss International made a mystery. It's just I pretty much know the routes that I'm going, so I'm trying to eliminate the map screen from a lot of my options, unless I have like that one travel, activity profile. But
I have one other screen that's kind of for the nerds out there. I use DIT, which is electronic shifting in my bike, and I've got this little. We've talked about it in past podcasts, but it's the little Bluetooth transmitter for the DI2 system. It's the
What do they call it? The fly something?
Yeah, it plugs in line with it, and it will broadcast to your Garmin. That's what I particularly use. I don't know if they have it for Wahoo or not, or some of the other computers out there, but I can actually get a screen where it will show me what my battery level is in my bike.
Yep.
You know, there's nothing worse than being out there and all of a sudden your battery dies, and you lose like the ability to shift your front, or worst case scenario, like total shifting at all, and you're riding a single speed back. So battery. How much battery level is left in there. I can look at gear ratios. I can look at gear combinations, and I can correlate that to my 3-second power, which is kind of neat.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's just kind of playing with the numbers a little bit to figure out where you're getting the best like cadence, where what gear combination you're in, what the gear ratio is, and just how that feels. And you just play with it a little bit more, and it just gets you a little bit more in tune with your bike. So,
Dang.
I know, it's pretty cool. I don't have one of those little adapter pieces, but it's really small, and it just goes in between your rear derailleur and your battery. I guess
it requires an extra little E-tube cable that's maybe 3 or 4 inches long, and then it's the little device itself. It's super simple to plug in there. It costs about $90. I want to say $90 to $100 for those two pieces, and plug it in, and for it to basically sync up with your Garmin. It's super simple, and if you have all of the electronic shifting, that stuff all has firmware in there that needs to be updated. And as they, push forward with technology, you want to make sure that you keep all that stuff updated. So it will allow your phone to connect to your bike and make all of those firmware updates.
It's probably worth it just for that.
Yeah. And then the thing that I absolutely love about it is the fact that on the newer Ultegra and Di2 shift hoods, there's a button up on the top, and you can actually scroll between your screens, which for me, that solved a lot of problems for the winter months where you don't want to be fussing around with little buttons or a touch screen that's being sensitive. You can actually just push the button and you can toggle between the screens so that you can see the different things on your device or your computer, and proceed accordingly. So for me, I've got like if I'm doing intervals and I want to see like my lap times and my power that I'm putting out, or if I want to get back to the other screen, or if I want to look at the map to see where I'm at and for navigation purposes, you just push a button and you're scrolling back and forth between them. Pretty nice.
I know.
The future's here.
Nice things.
Evan, come join us in the future.
Nope. I'm going to go destroy.
Get
all
off my
computers
lawn
now.
with your technology.
Okay, so last topic of the day that I thought we might discuss is Strava's end-of-year stats. Strava each year puts out just a small, 37-page PDF of, kind of just interesting stats. And, there's some fun stuff in here. I sent the link out to these folks just a little while ago. So I don't know if you guys want to go through and kind of talk about, something that you found interesting in there.
For starters, just looking at Strava as on the whole, how many people actually use this around the world? It's staggering. I mean, they have 36 million athletes who updated rides or runs or uploaded whatever it is that they do in 2018. That is phenomenal. I mean, that's a big community of people using Strava in this platform. And what's cool is they take all of this data and they provide us with this really cool report. So thank you, Strava.
Thank you, Strava.
Yeah.
And they do it each year. And it's a little weird because, yes, it's December and it's kind of like end of year type stuff, but the year's not over. But I think what they do is they take August through September, or they do something weird. Like the dates that they choose are not exactly what you would expect. Like it's not a January 1st thing. So
it's like a financial calendar or something like that.
I don't know. I'm not sure why they chose which dates or whatever, but I know that, they have the data obviously good to go here in December, but it doesn't necessarily capture Evan's latest, greatest ride.
So many algorithms here. I'm just looking through these numbers Matt, who comes up? Is this just people like you who just sit there and just know math super good?
At one point when I was in college, I haven't told very many people this. I worked in sports information, and one of our jobs was just watch a basketball game and come up with weird stats that you could write about. And it was always
that's my favorite thing when the announcers are like, "Oh, that's the first time he scored the first bucket of the second quarter since 1972," or something
all
crazy.
Stuff like that. It'd be in the last 3 minutes of the second quarter, we were perfect.
For the first time ever.
The Richmond Spiders absolutely destroyed. For those 3 minutes, we were on point. Yeah. No. But,
well, it's pretty cool though that they derived all of this information from 36 million athletes in 195 different countries, and they compiled this over 6.67 billion miles. That is an astounding.
How many times around the world?
Staggering number. I mean,
that's got to be a lot of times around the world, right?
That's a lot of miles.
Few.
Oh my gosh. So here's my thing with this. Who is run commuting?
I know. There was one of the little segments. In there that's
I
like
would
run
love for
commute.
somebody to comment on there and be like, I run commute.
I
I'd
do it
be
all
like,
the time.
I will
Yeah.
eat it. You
run
do
down
not,
the,
Jake.
run down the stairs and into the office. Yeah.
I run from my car into the office when it's cold, but does that count? Is that
We're counting it.
the average distance for run commute globally and in America, it was the same, is 4.1 miles.
I'm just thinking like
you and me will do
carry-
morning runs all the time, but yeah, like, are you carrying stuff to work
carry
with you?
stuff. I just always think of commute as like you're carrying, clothes or
Maybe if you're a personal
computer or
trainer, you can
something.
just like run sweaty in and nobody cares. But like,
or you have showers at your workplace.
yeah,
In a locker.
Maybe
Yeah,
there's
you would need a locker
So
there.
so this is international data, and I'm wondering if like there's a certain European country that's like, yeah, we all run to work.
just the
I can't
entire
think-
country.
I
run.
can't think of
This is why the
any-
Kenyans are killing us in
They're
distance running.
commuting to work. I don't think so. Yeah. Lance, anything you found interesting in here?
There was a section on the most popular segments, Strava segments, across the world and in the U.S. And the most popular segment in the U.S. was the Central Park Loop in New York City, and there were over 400,000 attempts
Right.
on this loop, and I thought, oh my gosh, that many people bike.
You were like, that bike path must be absolutely crazy.
Well, I actually did it last year. I did go ride that loop. Was it
In
last
real
year?
life.
In real life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I thought, oh my goodness, there's that many cyclists that actually do it. And I thought, okay, maybe there is, because you have all these people that live in New York City. What is there?
Yeah.
Is it 7 million or is it 14 million? I don't know how many people live in New York City, in Manhattan, on the island of Manhattan, but it's...
We'll come back to that.
Yeah, it's millions.
Too many.
A couple.
And I'm wondering, okay, so if people who bike, where are they going to bike? They're going to have to go to Central Park, most likely. There's some other places to bike, but they're going to be doing that. But then the most popular global segment, which is almost 500,000 attempts.
Wait. Let's take guesses because I haven't looked yet. Has anybody else looked?
Oh, I know where this is going, and it's probably London or something
Jake,
like that.
do you know?
I'm going to recuse myself.
Yeah. Okay.
I
already know.
I'm
I
gonna
don't
guess
know
somewhere in France.
Okay.
It's gotta be like Alpe d'Huez or something.
No,
Well.
it's in London.
London?
It's Box Hill,
Right.
in London.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Okay, so if it's Box Hill in London and it's Central Park in New York City, that's because this is from Zwift.
Yep.
Well, is it though? Does that count when they compile this?
That it's got to.
It's got
there's
to.
No way
There's
no way that many people are doing
Box
New
Hill.
York
Yeah.
and Box Hill.
Okay,
in
well,
London. No way.
500,000 people have done Box Hill
That's true.
last year.
In support
London.
against your little claim there.
I counter you,
for
Lance.
New York, they just opened up that land on Strava. I'm sorry, not Strava, but Zwift. Back at the beginning of October.
Yeah, but every
So-
time New York's open, and it was open a lot for like, it was
A whole week.
all
or
week.
Something like that. Yeah.
But
Everybody did it.
Matt just got done telling us that the calendar started
yeah,
and finished
that's
like in
true.
September. So
Yeah.
that would
I
would remove that from
Rebuke
contention here.
Lance. Yeah.
I still think that this is not real
too-
life data.
it's too
There's
much
no
of a
way.
coincidence.
There's no way with London. And then another stat that they posted in this, Strava, whatever year in review thing, was that there's more Strava posts from indoor rides than outdoor rides. To me, I think that's
Really?
crazy. I was very surprised by that stat. Yeah,
I'm pretty surprised by that too.
I was very surprised. I was, unless I read it wrong, which is possible.
Well, because initially I thought I need to go to London and ride
Yeah.
Box Hill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're
If
Lance
this is
Romance.
that popular.
You've got one of the two most popular rides. You're missing the second most popular
I need to
ride.
go to London to do this other popular ride, but then I'm pretty sure. It's
So
Well, here's another thing. Well, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
step
no,
on
go
some
ahead.
still, but
Go ahead.
if you think about like the popularity of Zwift, I mean, I think they're like 750,000 subscribers or
Yeah.
something like that. And how many times have people ridden through London and then they've gone and done Box Hill? There's a popularity component there. So how many people make that a point of destination to go ride their bike because they want
That's
to say
true.
they did it in real
Yeah.
life? And they have actually, I think, was it GCN who did it? Mm-hmm. But they actually had two guys race. One guy was on Box Hill and one guy was on Zwift, and they were doing it like concurrent
Yes.
with each other. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of funny. So, yeah.
That's why we love Jesus. So here's something else. I'm going to call out all American men here and then congratulate American women. So globally, they took the average speed of every ride done. Globally, the men averaged 13.7 miles per hour. American men compared to that 13.4. That's embarrassing. 0.3 miles an hour below the average right there.
Dang it, America.
We need to get faster.
Well-
But the American women, this is why they win gold medals and we don't, is women 12.6 miles per hour in America, globally 12.1. They're killing it.
Let me just-
0.5 above that.
I have a point to that.
Let me
too.
just
Go ahead,
piss
Matt.
off some internationalists. Americans are riding uphill. We do not go downhill. We only go uphill, and we ride in the snow
Both
the
ways.
majority of the time.
Both ways, yeah.
America's tough as hell. Okay.
If I can make a point to that, though, a valid point.
What?
I think that in Europe or around the country, road cycling is much, much more prevalent, much more popular. And I think mountain biking basically makes up a pretty big percentage. I wouldn't say that it overtakes that of like road cycling here in the United States, but I think it's a higher population of people. And if you're riding at 13 miles an hour on a typical mountain bike ride, you're flying.
Yeah.
I'd say that more times than not, you're probably closer to like 9, 10, 11 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So on that note, I think that that could maybe skew those numbers just a touch, but that's just me. So just playing devil's advocate.
Here's another. Now we're going to the age argument here. Guess the longest distance per ride for men. Guess what age bracket has that title?
40 to 49.
No, older.
It's 60
Really?
to 69. I saw this too.
Yes,
I shouldn't say stuff that I know
60
the
to
answer
69. Yeah,
And they had like the most
and
posted
it's not
the
even
most
close. They're killing everybody else.
Yeah, that one was. They had the longest duration and the longest rides, and they had something interesting. Like I always thought that was really interesting that age
Yeah.
group, 60 to 69, was crushing it.
And then your age group and my age group.
Not good.
time
We're
and
the
resources.
lowest.
Yeah, time and resources right there. They've got the money to buy nice bikes and the time to go ride them. So.
70 plus is beating my age group. What is this? And by a lot. 26.2, 20.9 for my age group.
The only people that
Oh.
are your age that are riding bikes are like hipsters that are riding.
People have nothing better to do. Yeah.
fixed gear to the coffee shop, and that's it.
I'm tired of
Big
that.
beards.
I'm tired of the fixed gear to the coffee shop. Put your head down, get some gears, and go uphill fast. Okay. Oh boy, but yeah, that average speed for America needs to come up. I agree with Jake though. It's got to be some mountain biking stuff too. I mean, with how much people in the Colorado, Utah, Arizona area that do tons of mountain biking, California too. Yeah,
Well, if I'm wrong, that's still a pretty cool stat.
I like
to
that.
think
Yeah.
of. Yeah.
yeah.
Lance, if you post an emoji in your title, you're likely to get 2 times as many kudos.
I am not a.
You're not an
I'm
emoji?
not an emoji poster. No,
An emojier.
Okay.
I'm not an emoji.
But you will be.
Now I'm gonna have to step it up.
There was another something in there. I couldn't actually find it, but it was something like photos was like 7 times more likely to get
If you
kudos.
post a photo,
Yeah, and you post a lot of photos, so
I post too many photos.
no, it's good.
And funny ride titles is another one. So you can you're checking 2 of the 3 boxes, Lance. You can up your kudo game so much more by just adding a little emoji in here.
Emoji would, yeah.
Again, my personal self-worth is tied to how many kudos I get.
We know.
The number one emoji though is a little running icon though. So that
running.
sucks.
Average running pace. Average running pace was like
What are you looking at?
940.
930?
It was about 940,
940.
945,
Yep.
which feels a little slow, but I think that's okay.
That's okay.
Average duration of a run was like 50 minutes, which I thought was pretty good.
That's pretty high.
I know.
That's very
I was
good.
thinking more like 30. So
I bet the ultramarathoners really spiked that one up. You got some outliers of people running
And then,
3
like,
hours at a time.
the most popular race for runners was like a half marathon, which is pretty good. You
Yeah.
know, these
I like that.
I don't know.
People are
These
starting to
Strava
run.
people.
People are starting to run more and more and more and more. There's definitely a massive up in recreational running over the last 20, 30 years.
That's good. That means more future cyclists after they break
Exactly.
down. Yeah.
Exactly.
Did you guys do a turkey trot? That was another pretty popular thing on
I
there.
was. Yeah. I biked a turkey trot.
I
I did.
That's my speed. That's my boy,
Yeah.
Matt.
I biked alongside the runners.
I ran my own race off a red eye.
Did you do your like basement sweat workout thing?
Oh, yeah.
my
Oh, yeah. We
gosh.
did that.
You're crazy.
I'll tell you what, I hit better numbers than I ever had in the past. That was fun to see.
Nice.
Yeah. A lot of sweating. A lot of turkey eating after that.
Women are posting more photos than guys, according to Strava stats.
Why are you looking at me, Jake?
We're all looking at you.
looking at
We're
me.
all looking at you.
So Lance should definitely start adding emojis
I need to
and
start
tons
adding
of pictures.
emojis and more pictures.
So let's see. Group activities demographics is an interesting one to look at.
Yeah, it is.
The most active in groups is the 50 to 59 age group. which kind of makes sense.
cool.
I mean, usually you have more friends in your life when you're 50 to 59, right?
Maybe.
Because you lived longer. I don't know. I'm not 50. I don't know these things.
No, we don't have friends. I don't know.
I'm literally half the age of this age demographic. I don't know a thing about them.
Group activities tend to be 10% longer and 20%. Wait, duration 10% longer, distance 20% longer.
That's because conversation takes away the pain, right?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. It's one of those things. We've talked about this a bunch of times. Find like-minded people and connect with them, and you're just going to end up doing more work, more volume.
Shared pain's half the pain.
And usually, like somebody will set like when you've got more people coming, especially the person that's organizing the ride, they want to make it a little bit more lofty of a goal for what they want to go out and do, and they want to do something a little bit more, like, hey, look at me, or like we did this big awesome ride. So I think on a whole, because you're getting a group of people together, and those people want to go out there and improve something, they're not going to go do a little 10-mile jaunt around the lake for us here. We're going to go out and we're going to hit the hills. We're going to do some more climbing. We're going to make it more of an epic kind of a ride.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that
so
makes sense.
average size of groups. If you guys haven't looked at this yet,
No,
what
I
do you
haven't.
think in America the average size of a group is for a group ride?
3.
53 people wearing ugly Christmas sweaters.
On the dot. There you go.
Nailed
With
it.
20 pictures posted. It is 7.8 in America.
Wow, that's pretty
8.6 globally. In the UK, this is the average size of group rides in the UK. 13.6.
Wow.
crazy. What are they doing over
First
there?
off, bro, I didn't think British people were that friendly. I thought they all hated each other.
No, they don't wait.
No, that's France.
Oh, yeah, that's France. Yeah, they just flip each other off and stuff. I don't know. You're going to get a lot of hate mail from France. I'm sorry.
I think they throw baguettes at each other.
You're all much faster than us. I apologize. This would be, so that kind of is an interesting stat to me that America's not higher on that one. I thought America, we were all about the group ride, but I guess not.
I guess not. No.
Do
We
you
need to
think
change that, though.
Zwift? Do you think Zwift counts as a group ride with this?
It might.
It might.
Hmm.
That's gonna throw the numbers.
Skew all those.
Here's my
results.
honest opinion on this. On their end of year thing, they should separate the indoor from the outdoor stats.
Yeah.
I'd be more interested in seeing a separation of the, and maybe this is, we could be wrong. Maybe this is just outdoor stats. But
No, it's not.
I bet you it's combined.
It's not because in group activities,
Yeah, but-
athletes who have done group activities, 73% of them recorded a virtual ride.
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
It is
Yeah.
broken out, yeah.
Yeah.
Jake, any more stats that you're interested in?
Sorry, we're all getting kind of quiet here because
I
we're
know.
all kind of
All
like digging
I
these
know.
stats. Like,
I have,
what is
I have
this stuff?
so many of these things. Like, activity with the most photos per sport is snowshoeing.
Yeah, snowshoeing, which kind of makes sense, right? Like you're doing
Yeah.
some pretty snowshoeing
Yeah, you
stuff.
better be taking some pictures
And
if you're
you're
going
not going very
snowshoeing
fast,
anywhere. Yeah,
right?
you got time to take your
Yeah,
phone
to
out.
take your phone out. I'm always pulling my phone out when I'm biking, and
I
half
feel like
the time I'm taking my life in my
snowshoeing and
dangerous.
backcountry skiing aren't even like sports. Those are like survival activities. Those are like I gotta go somewhere for lodging right now. Not-
So, what do you guys have to say about the multi-sport trends where they say athletes who do more than one sport
Are
don't
better?
divvy up their sports, they double them?
Yeah, that was interesting.
Those are big numbers.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why Evan and I are way better than you two.
I think this is just why our legs
Sorry.
look a lot better in shorts. So yeah,
You guys, how many different tan lines do you guys have?
it's just
Summertime, are you guys like?
I lose count during the summer. I don't know. It depends on whatever I want to wear that day.
it's not a pretty look.
No, it's a terribly unattractive look.
Yeah, that's a nuts one. Food around the world. Riders and runners enjoy a crisp, refreshing cold one, but when it comes to coffee, cyclists are over 5 times more likely to get their fix.
And here's the thing: is this is like food that was mentioned in a title, and I think a lot of people are going to say coffee ride. Like that is a type of
Yes.
ride.
Yes,
shop
that is.
ride.
Whereas
too.
beer ride is not a type of ride.
Yeah.
Cookie fondo. There you go.
Yeah.
You know.
Cookie fondo. Yeah, cookie.
But the
cake,
runners-
Cake was third.
Cake is number 3. Who goes on a cake ride?
Me.
Piece of but maybe someone
now.
I just did that
After
this
this
morning.
podcast.
Thank you.
Would people say piece of cake? Like that was a piece of cake. Like
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
wondering if there's
Yeah.
something like that that's causing the data to skew.
I had cake in one of my ride titles this year, but it was a race.
Piece
but-
of cake.
See,
The piece of cake,
pastry
yeah.
shouldn't be 6 because to me, like if I'm going right, it's going to be a donut or a pastry. Like if we're stopping mid place somewhere, like I'm getting a croissant. Is that technically croissant would go under pastry, right? France should be dragging that number way up.
So if the coffee ride is number one, you guys are runners. Do you guys do beer runs a lot?
There are beer runs and there's beer miles and there's things like that,
but you don't do those on like a casual Sunday.
There's not a lot of
But that's the number one boast, right? For runners.
running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beer is part of the culture in like trail running, you know? Like it's really a part of the culture, which is why I love trail running.
I think you don't have the same thing as like a coffee run. Like you just don't have like, whereas cycling, like a coffee ride is a type of ride. And so I think that, you're back to just like more like what you're looking at, very low numbers of food items that are in titles. And that's why beer might end up coming up on top.
Yeah.
That's my theory.
And then also with running, you're not usually putting anything into yourself during that run unless it is water.
Right.
Like, or a gel. It's not like riding, your body can kind of deal with a lot more in your system. Like if I'm doing a 14-mile run and at mile 8, we're like, hey, let's stop for coffee and a donut. Like, all right, the run is now done. Yeah, the run is not going to continue now.
What about just getting into some of the totals? So we got ride totals here, and then you've got the global numbers. Total rides was 287.5 million uploads of rides globally. Wow. For a year-over-year increase, did you guys look at this yet? Did you guys see what the percentage was increased?
What?
I don't know if it's just because more people are using Strava. Strava's been around for so long, though. It's not like it's something new.
But people are still finding it. I think
they're still finding it, but it seems this number would tell me that more people are riding bikes.
No.
21.9% increase year over year.
I bet you that's increase in use of the platform.
You think so? I mean,
that's what I bet.
The platform has been out for almost 10 years. Mm-hmm. So
if they're not,
I could see that maybe in the first 5 or 6 years, but we're almost 10 years into this thing.
I think just a lot of people are riding inside, though, but I still think that's a good number to look at. I think it's...
Yeah, I'd like to see a comparative number, though.
Or
like how many more users they had.
Or is it just people who ride are riding more? Does that make, instead of just like more people technically riding? Who knows?
Yeah.
I think as a technology company, if their numbers are not increasing, they're pretty worried.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're worried.
Yeah. And then if you compare that just to the U.S. alone, so we, here in the United States, we uploaded 51.2 million rides, still a pretty sizable number. I mean, if you think about about 350, 400 million people in the United States, if I'm not mistaken, that's a pretty good chunk of the population. But our year-over-year increase was 14.5% here. So I guess that would kind of make sense if, to your point, based on the fact that it's a United States-based company, out of San Francisco. That's awesome to see that increasing, and I quite enjoy the platform, and I know it's got its little knocks on it from different people, but I think it for all the bad things that people say it does, I said before that I can give you 5 good things about it, and I think that it's great to see more people using the platform.
And if you're Strava, like you're trying to grow your user base, you're thinking probably international, you're probably thinking Asia, you're thinking like, we're gonna look at a lot of different countries, make sure our languages are prepped and things like that for your software. All that work that goes into it is going to increase different types of population besides the U.S.
Because we had mentioned this before. You got to be thinking China.
Yep.
China is, I mean, I could be completely wrong here and somebody Arizona mission me. I'm pretty sure they're the biggest bike commuter country in the world, and I don't think it's close. I don't think second place is even close.
And they're not using Strava.
Because they limit like how many people can even be on the road due to their traffic problems, and everybody else gets around on bikes.
Yeah.
Like you've seen pictures of Shanghai where it's like there's packs of bikes next to the cars.
It's standstill bike traffic.
Oh, yeah. Which is awesome. So,
sort of.
Well, yeah. That just shows there's a lot of people.
Not
there's
issues.
a ton of people there. Yeah.
All right, guys. Let's move on to one last thing. Mr. Evan Price.
Womp, womp, womp. Okay. The cycling world very recently just lost somebody who's really been, a stalwart, absolute stalwart in the Tour de France scene. That's Paul Sherwin. He died a couple days ago, and there's no details out on his death yet or anything, but it's just, I know anybody who grew up here listening to the Tour de France, like that is the voice. I mean, that's absolutely him and Liggett are the two voices that I will absolutely remember. Him describing any attack going up a climb and just the enthusiasm and I mean just an absolute awesome, like from from the people in the professional cycling world who knew him and who have expressed how they feel about him the last couple of days, he seems like somebody who really had a lot of positive influence in the cycling world. But yeah, very, very sad. He was 62, I want to believe. Yeah. Still pretty young, still looked great, looking, very fit still. I'm sure he still rode quite a bit. So
he's a big part of the global cycling community, and it was it's sad to lose him.
It was.
Mr. Lance, do you have one last thing for us?
I'm Mormon, as I have expressed on here, and actually this weekend I was asked to speak at stake conference for those of the Mormons who listen to us here.
Washington State Conference, or
well, it's not state, it's stake. So there's it's just the way the church is organized. It's all organized by geographic
it's all
area.
Based on cow meat, steak.
That's right. Something like that.
Got it.
So it was roughly 2,000 people or something like that, and they asked me to speak at it. So what did I do?
That's cool.
I told cycling stories.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you wung it with cycling stories up there.
No, I had written it out and had prepared for it, but I did tell some cycling stories. So I just wanted you guys.
Did you
to
plug
know.
our podcast?
I did. I didn't. I kept it pretty spiritual, but I did add some cycling stories for you guys, so that made it fun. So
nice. Are you traveling this week? Coming up?
No, not this week.
Nice.
Yeah,
Awesome. You'll be around.
I should be around.
Good.
Nice. Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad when you travel. Photos are fantastic, but it's good to have you back around here too. So, Mr. Jake, anything for one last thing?
Yeah, I do. I wanted to say thank you to everybody one more time for coming out to the Ugly Christmas Sweater Ride. That made my year. I had some great highlights to start the year, and then when all went to crap. But bringing it all back around full circle, that really just put a big smile on my face, and I still am happy from that, and I'm probably going to be happy for that for long time to come. But on that note, I just again wanted to thank everybody who has made a kind, generous contribution to our GoFundMe campaign to buy kids bikes this Christmas, bikes and helmets. And I think we're even going to try and add in some bike locks for these kids, because some of them live in some areas that maybe aren't quite all that great for leaving an unlocked bike unattended. Yeah. So we're going to get these kids hooked up, and we can still use a lot of help. The more money we bring in, 100% of all of that money is going to buy these bikes. We're getting stuff at cost. Nobody's making a dollar off of this except for the bicycle companies. But we're going to build these things up and try and get as many kids hooked up with a bicycle this Christmas as we possibly can. If you would like to help us out in that process, and you would like to make a kind and generous contribution to our campaign, feel free to do so over the next week. As a matter of fact, as soon as you're done listening to this podcast, just go jump on social media, go to our Facebook page, and you'll find a link there. We'll post it up again, and we'll put some pictures from the ugly Christmas sweater ride that we did this past weekend.
Nice.
And you can get on there and make a nice, kind, generous contribution. We would greatly appreciate it, and these kids are going to be happy for a long, long time to come. So your generosity is greatly appreciated, though. Thank you very much.
Super cool. Yeah. Absolutely.
How about you, Matt? One last thing.
Yeah. This afternoon, I'm going to try to whip together some sort of video for the YouTubes, and I'm going to steal all of your guys' ideas for your computer screens and things like that you would put on your bike computers.
Matt, for some of our newer listeners, what is the place where they can go watch all of your awesome videos?
Oh, there's some of them that are decent. The address is youtube.com/mlegrand.
Yeah, don't do Matt Legrand, because you'll be listening to some pop,
some awesome pop music. Yeah, exactly.
You have tough choices to make.
Yeah, I always pretend like I'm going to go watch you, Matt, and then I just get
lost
down this rabbit hole of great pop music.
Yeah, there. For those of you guys that don't know, there is I guess maybe he's 18 or something like that, and he sings pop music, and it's all like shirt open on the beach, talking to girls and stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
White shirt and white pants. And,
it's very hard to distinguish between me on YouTube and this guy.
Different kind of white, right?
Yeah, and so if you make the mistake, you're in good company with all the folks here.
That guy's views are just going to go through the roof because of you.
Could happen,
or the other way around. But
well, we look forward to seeing that video, Matt.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys, you guys have squandered another beautiful hour listening to the Dial podcast, but that is all we have. If you guys ever do want to get in touch with us, you can find us on Facebook, the Dial podcast on Facebook. We are on Instagram, I think.
Yes.
And if you want to send us an email, you can use either of our first names. And that would be Evan, Lance, Jake, or Matt at thedialpodcast.com.
Not just Dial Podcast.
Yeah, I'm close.
Yeah.
Very close.
Just
I
one
think
letter off.
with
yeah.
emails, I think it's just you just have to get close.
Is that how that works?
I'm pretty sure that's how that works.
Science.
Yeah, science. Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you on the next one.